So, Gladiator 2 came out. And before I go any further, I do want to stress, this is not a review of Gladiator 2. I will not review Gladiator 2 because I refuse to watch it. In my opinion, Gladiator did not need any sequel of any kind. The original Gladiator with Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix told a self-contained story and brought it to a conclusion. Therefore, the question remains, why is there a Gladiator 2 at all? Why are there even talks of a Gladiator 3? In this video, I want to explore 3 reasons why I believe that Gladiator 2 exists. I want to stress once again that this is not a review of Gladiator 2 because I refuse to watch Gladiator 2. I just want to explore why a legacy sequel to one of my favorite movies of all time was made to begin with. And the first reason I want to go into as to why I feel Gladiator 2 exists is because Ridley Scott is desperate for a hit movie. If we look at Ridley Scott's movies, at least since 2010, I believe that's when Robin Hood came out with Russell Crowe. Ridley Scott has been very hit or miss all over the board. His last big movie that everyone appreciated came out in 2015. That was The Martian with Matt Damon. Now, personally, I did like Alien Covenant. A lot of people hated that movie, but personally, I liked Alien Covenant for what it was. I do agree with a lot of criticisms, with a lot of the criticisms of Prometheus, if I can talk today, where they went a little too philosophical and way too stupid. They did the same thing in Alien Covenant, but the difference between Prometheus and Alien Covenant was that Prometheus was more like high concept science fiction, whereas Alien Covenant was more of a horror movie. So Alien Covenant, you have to have smart people do stupid things, otherwise there's no reason for the horror movie to exist. Jason Voorhees is not going to murder the shit out of people in the cabin if no one opens the door to the cabin and lets him in. Right? What would be the point of the Friday the 13th movie? He just stand outside the cabin, bang on the door all day. No one's gonna let him in. But anyway, I'm going off track, and I do admit that. But still, Ridley Scott, his movies have been all over the place, and I'm not saying that his more recent stuff has been bad. Stuff like The Last Duel was reviewed very well, but the problem with The Last Duel was that not only was it a day-and-date release on HBO Max when it originally came out in 2021, there was virtually no marketing for it. Same with House of Gucci. So I think that that's why Gladiator 2 exists. It's more of Ridley Scott's desire for a hit movie, since his last hit movie came out back in 2015 with The Martian. Like I said, people had very mixed feelings on Alien Covenant. You either liked it or hated it. There was no in between. All the Money in the World basically came and went. The Last Duel, like I said, it might have been, I still haven't watched The Last Duel. It might have been a good movie, but there was virtually no marketing for The Last Duel. Same with House of Gucci. Again, it might have been a good movie, but there was virtually no marketing for it. What movie is going to get more marketing? The Last Duel or Gladiator 2? Well, Gladiator 2 is going to get a much bigger marketing push because it's the sequel to a Best Picture winner from the 2001 Academy Awards. The movie came out in 2000. Who's going to care about the Last Duel? Oh, and something I completely forgot about with his Napoleon movie with Joaquin Phoenix is Ridley Scott played so fast and loose with history that you had several French historians come out and say that Ridley Scott's Napoleon movie is a slap to the face to all French people because it was so historically inaccurate. But anyway, I've gone on for why Ridley Scott's desperate for a hit movie. So let's go on to the second reason why I believe Gladiator 2 exists. And this is because Gladiator 2 was greenlit when legacy sequels were the talk of the town. Gladiator 2 in its current form was greenlit back in November of 2018. Now, if you go back and you read reports, there are reports going all the way back to 2001 for a sequel to Gladiator. And I realize that. But Gladiator 2 in its current form was greenlit in November of 2018. Now, I want to stress that at the time because Jurassic World came out and made a shit ton of money. despite that just being a retread of the 1993 film Jurassic Park. You also had Cobra Kai. The first season, I believe, came out in May of 2018. I could be wrong. I think it was like May or June of 2018. I think it was May 2018. Where all the first season of Cobra Kai was just a retelling of the original Karate Kid movie, but the difference being that instead of telling it from the perspective of Daniel LaRusso, they told it from the perspective of Johnny Lawrence. That really was it. If you actually examine the first season of Cobra Kai, the only difference between Daniel LaRusso and Miguel Diaz is that Miguel was trained by Cobra Kai, whereas Daniel LaRusso was trained by Mr. Miyagi. That's it. Those are the big differences between the character of Miguel Diaz and Daniel LaRusso. But still, back in 2018, legacy sequels were all over the place. Like I brought up Jurassic World. I brought up Cobra Kai. There was also Mad Max Fury Road, which I believe broke even at the time, from what I remember, because of just the huge production costs on that one. And I'm blanking on a few others, but still, legacy sequels were all talk at the time. At first, let's just reboot old movies like Total Recall. Let's not do a sequel to Total Recall. Let's just reboot Total Recall and make it completely different, but slap the Total Recall name to it. So first it started with reboots, and then they went with outright remakes that were completely unnecessary, like Ghostbusters 2016, where that was not a reboot, where that was not a legacy sequel. That was more of that was more of a reboot that, again, was not really necessary. To now let's make legacy sequels to movies from 30 plus years ago. Woohoo! Everyone makes money. And that leads into the third and final reason why Gladiator 2 exists. It's just the search for more money is all that it is. All legacy sequels are trying to accomplish is basically just bank off of nostalgia. But the issue with trying to bank off of nostalgia alone is that nostalgia only sells for so long. Okay, let's use two examples that came out in 2015. Let's talk Star Wars: The Force Awakens and Jurassic World. Both movies came out 2015, made a shit ton of money. Now, I did not go see Jurassic World in the theaters because I was not the biggest fan of Jurassic Park. But I did go see Star Wars: Force Awakens, and I remember people walking out of that theater, literally fanboying and crying, going, "This is the best Star Wars movie ever made!" But then as episodes 8 and 9 came out, what started to happen? People re-examined The Force Awakens, just went, "Oh, this is basically just a remake of the original Star Wars movie, and that's it. That's all the Force Awakens was." Same with Jurassic World. Once the sequels came out, once Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom and Jurassic World: Dominion released, you saw the critical reception and audience reception go down, despite them making money. Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom and Jurassic World: Dominion did not lose money, but still, people went back and re-examined the first Jurassic World movie, and they just went, "Oh, this is just a retread of Jurassic Park." And not even a good retread at that. It's basically Jurassic Park, but dumbed down for 7-year-olds. That's all Jurassic World really was. And I know that I've gone on for... I know I've probably just dragged this video out longer than I need to go. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to end it off with this. Ridley Scott and Paramount could have just decided to make another sword and sandal epic and not call it Gladiator 2. Don't connect it to the story of Maximus in any way, shape, or form. Make this new sword and sandal epic its own thing, and you could have marketed it as, quote-unquote, the next generation's Gladiator, or Gladiator for the next generation. And it might have worked depending on what they did with the new sword and sandal epic. But instead, Paramount and Ridley Scott wanted to return to the well and just go with the easy option of making a sequel to the Best Picture winner from 2000 and hoping that it makes a lot of money. However, audiences are not as gullible today as they were back in 2015 when Jurassic World and Star Wars: Force Awakens came out. If a legacy sequel is getting made, then it better justify its existence beyond nostalgia. Nostalgia only sells for so long, and I know I've said this earlier, but I'm going to say it again. I want to hammer it home. Nostalgia only sells for so long. If all this Legacy sequel does is bank on nostalgia and has nothing to go for it on its own, then it will more than likely bomb today versus a decade ago. Personally, I predict that Gladiator 2 will have a huge opening weekend followed by a very steep second weekend drop-off. The reason for the steep second weekend drop-off is because everyone's curiosity will be satisfied by the opening weekend. They will realize that Gladiator 2 does not need to exist, therefore they will never watch it again. Everyone will instead say, you know what? Let's just watch the original Gladiator from 2000 because that is the superior movie. Why am I going to waste my time watching a sequel that, quite frankly, does not need to exist?